let's go to the hot button issue that we wanted to talk about this week. It's not an issue. I'm joking with you. This is something that this episode has absolutely flown by. We've had a lot of awesome conversations already. So we're going to take a step back and talk about something a little bit more frivolous, I guess. So I just saw a tweet on Cut 4 earlier Thursday afternoon. We know Cut 4 loves to do silly stuff, position player pitching and all that stuff. They're an awesome account. They do great work. So this afternoon, they tweeted out a take on the classic video game NBA Jam. So I know this is a specific reference for our audience here. I know you might all be baseball fans, but if you're sports fans like us, maybe you remember this game. I'm certainly not a huge NBA fan. You might have picked that up just from listening to us this year. Even I know NBA Jam. I love it. So classic arcade-style game that's been revamped once or twice over the years. 2-on-2 basketball. Everybody can do a little bit of everything. The dunks are high-powered. Most players can hit threes. Things like that.
And the court's super small. It's back and forth.
Alley-oops all over the place. You can block any shot. You can block dunks. All this stuff. It's a nutso game.
I think it resurged a little bit with the mobile app.
Right. I have that. That's why I play it often.
But it used to be on consoles too. Yep. I bet it's on consoles still.
It probably is. So I wish it were updated now because I think it would be killer with some of the 1-2s that we've got in the NBA right now. Anyway, so that's the take. That's the foundation of this. So now you might wonder, what does this have to do with this show? I'll tell you. So Cut 4 proposed we take NBA Jam and make it MLB Jam. So it's not as perfect, but the essence is for every single team, you take the best hitter and the best pitcher, and you make that your two-man team, and then you play against another team like that. So like we said, for the NBA, it's 2-on-2. So right now you would pick LeBron James and Anthony Davis, and you'd go against any other twosome in the league, maybe. So that's how it would work now. So for the MLB, you would take the best hitter and the best pitcher on any team and try to win the league like that. What does the game look like? I don't know. Fortunately, Max kind of knows because somehow or another, this random suggestion from people that we don't know, have no connection to, this suggestion actually goes right in line with something that you've been developing and working on a pitch for a little while.
A pitch, no pun intended.
No, I didn't mean to say that.
So this is an idea that kind of came to me in terms of revamping MLB All-Star Week to try to have more exciting little segments and little games, kind of like what they do with the Pro Bowl with dodgeball and stuff like that, or the skills challenge in the NBA. But this is a little different. I want to say years ago that in MLB The Show, which I used to play every year growing up, there was a mode on my PSP, I can see it right now, where you picked a hitter and a pitcher, and you go against the CPU, and you hit like signs. It was like not an actual stadium. You would hit targets over the fence and accrue points, and you'd get strikeout points when you were pitching. So you'd switch off every inning, and then you would have to get more points than the CPU, and then you would win.
Okay.
So here's an idea. We have the 32 teams. Now the only difference here is that in the Cut 4 version, for example, the Brewers, it's Christian Yelich and Josh Hader.
Pick the best hitter and the best pitcher on the team.
So in this sense, relievers apply.
Sure.
But, and bear with me here, I'm going to explain this. A March Madness style bracket with all 32 teams seeding based on, let's say, record at the end of this season. Each round is a 5-inning game, so 15 outs for each team to get. You choose the best starting pitcher on your team and the best hitter, and you go back and forth like a typical game. So I stopped the Cut 4 GIF on the Phillies. You'd have Bryce Harper hitting. You'd have Nola pitching. And then let's say you're going against the Nationals. It would probably be Juan Soto and Max Scherzer. So that means Scherzer pitches to Harper, tries to get 3 outs, and then you switch. Nola pitches to Soto. So now, what about defense? Well, you pick 8 defenders to go out into the field, and I know that there might be bias in some sense if you're a former teammate, if you played with someone in the minors, if you played with them in college. So you might try to root for someone, but in this specific scenario, we were talking about this. They're shadows of themselves, and they're going to do whatever it takes. They're the best 8 defenders in the league. They're going to do whatever it takes to make the play, make the throw, get the outs.
I pictured it like shadow versions, like another classic game, Super Smash Bros. Brawl or whatever, Super Smash Brothers, where it's shadow Kevin Kiermaier out in center field, shadow Andrelton Simmons at shortstop or whatever it is. So it's got all of the aspects, all of the attributes of Andrelton Simmons, and he's going to play shortstop to the best of his abilities. But if Mike Trout is the hitter in this simulated game, wouldn't let a dribbler go past him into center field to help out his
They're
teammates.
not trying to help either team because they play defense for both.
Right. Okay.
So at the end of the 5th inning, whoever has more runs wins, advances to the next round.
So how do you score?
So how do you score? We'll stick with the same Phillies-Nationals matchup. If Bryce Harper hits a double off of Scherzer, he runs to second. He's safe at second. He then walks back to the batter's box. If he hits another double, the run scores. We're not going to put base runners out there, and obviously we're trying to make this as real life as possible, so he can't clone himself. Because then if you put someone else on his team out there, it's different speed, or the best runner, Billy Hamilton, whatever, it's different speed. So it changes. That's a variable.
So they're ghost runners basically, like backyard rules.
It's like you're playing before a little league game. You're messing around with your teammates, and you have to argue. Maybe Harper hits a single there, so that's when the umpires come in and they'll rule, oh, he would have been safe or he would have been out at home. And maybe if the outfielder is Josh Reddick, who has a tremendous arm, then they're going to throw him out, or whoever else. I'm not thinking of JJ Reddick, right?
No, you said Josh Reddick.
Yeah, okay. The NBA Jam is messing with
That's true.
me
We
here.
are messing with you. JJ Reddick would be decent at NBA Jam if you need some threes.
Right. Anyways, so that's the plan. 32 teams, probably Dodgers facing off with the Tigers or Orioles in the first round. And then the cool thing about this is, and we narrowed down our top 15, we wrote them down, is that every team really is a threat here. You can't just assume that the Orioles are bad because they have one good hitter and they have a decent pitcher who might have 5 strong innings.
So as a team right now, the Orioles are really bad. But, these are all obviously good athletes. Full stop.
Major leaguers.
But everybody seems to, you try to build a core, obviously. So you have supposedly that middle of the order hitter or top of the order hitter, depending on how you shake it out, and that front of the staff pitcher. That's obviously what you build around, and every team has that to an extent. Obviously, some are better than others, and some are more successful than others. But the Orioles, like you say, the team is bad, and the team is unsuccessful, but they still have Trey Mancini, who's a great hitter, and Dylan Bundy's at the top of their rotation right now, but John Means was an all-star this year. Every team has to have an all-star, so take that how you will. But John Means could be a really good pitcher, so that would be who would probably be on this team in this situation.
And that's just one example. Now, the disadvantage here is for a team like the Brewers, where Josh Hader is their representation on this cut for GIF. But in this situation, Josh Hader's not going to go 5 innings. The manager wouldn't let them.
So you're right. That's the difference.
It has to be a starter.
Right. So that's the difference that I didn't press you on. 5 innings is the length of this game, rather than 9 innings. Because you want one pitcher to, in theory, be available.
Right. We
for
tried
the
to
whole thing.
split a 9-inning game in half. We were considering 7, but that's still a little long because there are probably going to be some extra innings here. And the other cool thing that you keep an eye on is maybe it's, I don't know, Orioles, Dodgers, and Trey Mancini is obviously not the hitter that Bellinger is, but what if Mancini gets the lefty-righty matchup with Kershaw, and he's going to see him 15 times and more if he gets any hits?
Sure.
These are all MLB hitters. They're going to get accustomed to pitchers. So I think here it's advantage hitter. I think this cool tournament is going to have a lot of upsets and high-scoring games. I think it would be so cool to make this happen. Obviously, there's probably no way, especially in an all-star game. In the middle of the season, you wouldn't want someone to get hurt.
You wouldn't play all these games.
And why would they do this in the off-season either? So we can only dream that this will happen. Maybe it's a MLB The Show mode someday.
It's a mode, sure.
But the fun way that Tim and I wanted to go about this is we both respectively came up with our Final Four, to use March Madness terminology.
Here's our top 15 in front of us, just for fun.
So we have the top 15 in front of us.
We tried to pare down all the teams in Major League Baseball, and we determined who we thought was the top hitter on every team and the top starting pitcher using that caveat. And now we've got the top half of the league.
We narrowed it down to half. And then from there, Each of us chose our final four. We haven't told each other what they are yet. How do you want to go about this?
I haven't thought about it so far. I mean, I can go first if you want.
Okay.
So we've got our top 15. We had some debate.
This was so hard.
This was honestly,
to choose.
this was really hard. Because like you say, look, so this is hard. Max and I think similarly as you've deduced on the show, but we make a good broadcast booth because we've got really more of the hitter guy and more of the pitcher guy in terms of our allegiances or whatever. Obviously, I didn't play baseball anywhere near as long as you have, so I can't really call myself a former pitcher. But regardless, so I'm biased towards pitchers is really what I'm saying here, is generally how it shows.
Sure.
I think that, even with that said, I think that kind of to your point, it's advantage hitter overall in this format because a pitcher could roll through the first, let's just say, 3 innings of this format and not allow any of these hypothetical runs. But now, like you say, you're seeing, if we imagine the pitcher is perfect, doesn't allow any singles or anything like that through the first 3 innings, now you're seeing the same pitcher, the same hitter is seeing the same pitcher for the 10th time. So even for a pitcher that is throwing a complete game in a normal situation, if you're the leadoff hitter, maybe you're seeing me for the 4th time. And you might be sitting there in the dugout watching me work the whole time and thinking, all right, look, this guy's done this, and I know my tendencies and all that stuff. You're still only faced me 4 times throughout the game. Right. Now you face me for the 10th time.
And in quick succession,
right, so I would have a little bit of a break here and there or whatever while the other pitcher is going, but I'm not breaking that much. And I'm also now facing you, the top or the middle of the order hitter, not bottom of the order hitters every time or a pitcher spot or something like that.
And as a pitcher throws more pitches, they make more mistakes.
Right, fatigue and everything is very much a thing. So we gave 5 innings, not 7, to try to help with fatigue a little bit. Maybe we expect starters to get through 5 generally, unless you're the Rays or whatever and want to pull a guy after 3 innings. Anyway, so I think it's very much advantage hitter. Even still, I think the way I went with all of these, with my 4 picks, they're going to be my final 4 in some order. And obviously, we don't know how the matchups work or whatever, so they could play each other in the 3rd round and everything, goes up
just
flames.
The best final 4.
I picked my 4 best pairings, is what I did. Even with all of what I just said about it being advantage hitter, I think you have to have a great pitcher.
Yeah.
If you don't have a great pitcher, you don't have a chance in this made-up game.
Right.
I think that. So look, that's all right. Look, I'll just reveal my choices here in a second.
Yeah.
I think that the Angels are not a very good team this year, but you have Mike Trout. So I think if you have Mike Trout, you have a chance in any sort of baseball game.
But who's your pitcher?
And maybe a football game too. I don't know. But I think Shohei Ohtani is your pitcher.
We're also assuming full health here.
Of course.
Sorry, I forgot to mention that.
Right, everybody's full health and plays as well as we think they can, or as well as they've proven. I don't think Shohei Ohtani is good enough to get the Angels to the Final 4. Could that pairing win them a few games? You better believe it, because Trout could put up 10 runs by himself.
Right.
That might be enough. We don't know.
Sure.
Never seen a game like this before.
Right.
So with all that said, all 4 of my teams have great hitters that can do a little bit of everything and true ace pitchers.
Okay.
I can't go away from that format.
Okay.
So I want to pick somebody like the Angels.
Yeah.
Because I think Mike Trout could win
It's hard
this.
not to pick just based on the hitter,
Right.
is what you're saying.
Right, absolutely.
I grapple with that too.
So I've got 4 pitchers that on their day, I think, have proven to be, so in 2019, perhaps not, you can make an argument, but in some order, here we go.
I'll write
I'll just,
T next year is when you
Sure,
put them.
all right, so in some order, the Nationals, Juan Soto and Max Scherzer. The Astros, Jose Altuve and Justin Verlander.
Okay.
The Red Sox,
Okay.
Mookie Betts and Chris Sale. And then my champion, the Dodgers, Cody Bellinger and Clayton Kershaw. Maybe you give Hyunjin Ryu the nod. I think for this format, just in terms of longevity, etc., you give it to Clayton Kershaw. But those are my 4 pairings. So what do we have in common?
Okay.
True ace pitchers, Scherzer and Verlander. We know I've been a fan of those 2 for a long time. Though their accolades are unquestionable. Again, I think on his day, Chris Sale could beat anybody, even the same hitter, even Mike Trout, on the balance over 15 outs. And you balance that. Now, the flip side is that we've got other ace pitchers on this list. But, and I don't want to steal your thunder too much more than I already have. the reason I went with these guys is that these hitters can do everything.
Yep.
Cody Bellinger has now 40 home runs this year and only 9 steals or whatever it is, but he doesn't just hit home runs. So like Jose Abreu and Lucas Giolito, I think is a great pairing. I think Eloy Jimenez and Lucas Giolito would be a better pairing. Because Eloy Jimenez can do everything. Mookie Betts can do everything.
Sure
he hits a lot of home runs and hits doubles and hits triples and almost hits for the cycle and all that stuff. So that is why I think the Red Sox could win a situation like this. And
absolutely,
as it stands, they're not going to make the playoffs in 2019. So it hinges on how good Chris Sale is. Again, on his day, I think Chris Sale could do anything. And look, I could go on. I love this. I love NBA Jam.
It's
I love this idea.
such a cool idea.
This was your big idea, though. This is your game. Who do you have winning your game?
Okay, so I've been grinning ear to ear because of just how similar our thought process is. And I swear, we did not talk about this. We kept it to ourselves. I went the exact same route, choosing more so the pitcher and then trying to choose a versatile hitter.
Okay.
So I didn't choose the Angels. I didn't choose a team with the hitter first. I went pitcher first.
Okay.
So I'll go through them. I have 3 of the same.
Okay.
And then one wild card team.
One wild card. Okay.
Yeah. I didn't want it to be too chalky.
I was afraid of that too.
Right.
I thought Boston might have been actually, surprisingly enough, might have been my wild card, my dark horse.
It's hard not to be chalky, especially when you're filling out a bracket for March Madness. It's the same thing. The Dodgers could lose in the first round. Bellinger could face a lefty.
Sure.
And not do as well.
That's a great point.
And Kershaw could unravel in the third.
It's a playoff game,
These are playoff games, and Kershaw's not good in the playoffs.
Maybe this gives switch hitters an inherent advantage. Who knows?
Don't steal, but come on,
I'm
Tim.
sorry.
Okay.
No, shut up. I'll back out of the frame. Bye.
So I have the Red Sox.
Okay.
I have Houston.
Okay.
I have the Dodgers. I don't have the Nationals. I wanted to pick the Nationals. You know how big of a Max Scherzer guy I am. But I choose the Indians. I chose the Indians. Because, and like you said, switch hitting. I think that Corey Kluber, at his best and at health, could have the potential to dominate in this league, this tournament-style format. And if you look at on our top 15, you guys obviously don't see this, but there are barely any switch hitters on here. Frankie Lindor is, I would wager to say, the best switch hitter on this list of the top 15 pitcher-hitter duos that we decided. That means that any pitcher that comes at Francisco Lindor in this format, he will be able to face from the other side. You can't say that for Mookie Betts. You can't say that for Altuve. You can't say that for Bellinger. I think they're good enough to get through this tournament, but I think that Francisco Lindor balances out with the fact that Kluber is not the best pitcher here, but he has the ceiling to absolutely dominate 5-inning games and get 15 outs, giving up only a couple runs. Because like I said, I think this is going to be dominated by offenses. But then again, as it's dominated by offenses, you have to choose the pitchers that are going to, try to condense the domination by offenses. I don't think there are going to be any shutouts, certainly no perfect games, nothing like that. But if you can limit a hitter to 3 or 4 runs here, and I think that Sale, Verlander, and Kershaw, and maybe even Garrett Cole for the Astros, we never really decided that. We put down Verlander, but it was originally Cole/Verlander.
I picked one.
Both of them would work, especially this year for Cole.
That's for sure.
And I think that Kluber-Lindor is a pretty effective duo. I don't know who would necessarily win. It's such a toss-up. I might have to give Houston the edge just because of how good Jose Altuve is at his best in terms of versatility. Because again, sure, Bellinger could hit you a bunch of homers here, but I could see Altuve just getting so used to another pitcher, facing them over and over again, that he's just going to be spraying balls in the gap and then occasionally running into it and getting 3-run homers. And if he catches a rhythm, I don't think anything stops him.
This is the fascinating thing about this game. There's so many permutations that we can create for this scenario that you've concocted here. I think one of the other points here is the ghost runners situation rather than having actual runners. So you pick, some of the best base runners in the league. So, the ghost of Billy Hamilton or, Kevin Kiermaier, I've said before, somebody
Terrence
like
Gore.
that. Terrence Gore, sure, Jared Dyson, people like that. Maybe those are your automatic base runners. But if that's the case, then I want a singles hitter. I don't want to diminish him, but I would love Eddie Rosario in that case. If you've got, let's make them all twins. If you got Byron Buxton on second, I would love Eddie Rosario to come up and just poke a single or maybe a double into right field, scores Buxton without you even having to worry about it.
Sure.
But if you have just given runner, a league average runner, so a competent guy could steal a base if needed, if that's who's on second, then maybe you still want a home run. So now if I'm the Twins, I might rather have Nelson Cruz because I would guarantee a home run.
Yeah, but
so it depends on the rules of the game, right? So that's why I think in this situation, and in any situation, I'd rather play it safe and have players that can do hitters that can do everything, which is why I would go with Mookie Betts or Jose Altuve.
I tried to choose my gapper guys. And Bellinger, I don't really consider that much of a gapper guy anymore just because of his home run potential. But when I think of the Red Sox, I think of Mookie Betts doubles in the gap off the monster. And Altuve is just that. And then Lindor, he's not having a earth-shattering year because he's been hurt a bunch of it, but that's what I picture when I think of Lindor. And the fact that he's able to, in the first couple rounds, face all southpaws and hit from the right side. And then in the championship, he's not forced to stay from that side. He can switch if the pitcher's from a different team, a different side of the arm.
I think this is absolutely fast. Look, some other teams that we've talked about in this episode of Good Hacks, the Braves weren't even on our top 15.
because their pitching wouldn't have been good enough.
Right, so they don't have a starting pitcher that we would trust in this game. Like, who would you go with? Fultonevich has been in the minor. That was who Cut 4 went to, which was funny because he's been in the minors a lot of the year.
Dookie Toussaint. Mike Soroka. We didn't think of Mike Soroka.
Yeah, that's true.
Shoot. They'd probably be on there then.
I would blame Cut 4 for that because they put Fultonevich on their short list and not Soroka.
But that's the situation there.
That's a really good point.
We talked about Acuna. He could carry them single-handedly. Trout could carry the Angels single-handedly. I think that another really good option here is the Mets.
Yep.
Because Pete Alonso has proven that he can hit the ball like crazy and have RBIs and extra base hits. And Jacob deGrom is one of the best pitchers on this list.
It's true. There are so many guys that I would peg as, so many pairings, I should say, that I've got pegged as like my number 6 choice.
Yeah.
I made my top 4, and then these guys are my number 6.
And
but I have 3 guys on that. I have 3 teams on that list.
And if you're filling out NCAA March Madness bracket, you got to pick some upsets. You got to take some 6 seeds.
Sure.
Or you even go all out and take UMBC in the first round, and the Orioles go on a run. So
it's possible.
Everything is possible in this format. We may never see it come to fruition at any level, but we just wanted you guys to think about it. I think that it's such a cool idea, and maybe they can even do some sort of like simulation in MLB The Show. I've seen a lot of franchise simulations. I'm a Marlins guy. I've seen a lot of people simulate the Marlins farm system and what it's going to look like in a couple years down the road. This would be so cool to do it 100 times and see who wins the most amount of times. I'm just fascinated by this idea. It's my idea, so that's why. But
there's endless possibilities for something like this, for something that doesn't even exist. So I think that proves that it's a cool idea, unique if absolutely nothing else. We hope you enjoyed playing MLB Jam with us. You've been listening to this whole way. Tell us what your best pairing would be if we missed a top 15. Tell us what you think. Give us your Final 4 or maybe your champion. Who would you pick if you were playing this MLB Jam? Who would you back if you were following this tournament that Max has created for all-star games in the future, things like that? Let us know. We want to hear from you. If you got any questions to ask, any topics you'd like us to discuss next week or in the future, hit us up. We're always available. Follow us on Twitter, on YouTube, on Anchor, on Spotify, anywhere that you want to. There's a magnifying glass. You can follow us even closer, whatever you want. We appreciate you being with us. He's Max. I'm Tim. We've been Good Hacks. We'll see you next time. Until then, so long.